In the late 90s, a company that used to be considered the largest brand in motocross apparel released their newest model of paintball masks. It was breathable, customizable, and it featured a thermal lens that wouldn't fog up. And it was quickly adopted by almost every major team in the sport at the time. These days, you're going to be seeing people dropping huge stacks of cash on small handfuls of parts, constant arguments over which generation and which manufacturers produce the best parts, and retailers are selling the mask for well over their MSRP, and in a lot of cases, more than double what the original Flex 7, what we know as the Proflex today, costed back in 1997 when it was released. So what happened? So back when I was new to the sport, after spending a couple of weekends playing as a rental, I remember going to my local field and going into their pro shop just to pick up some basic gear to get me up and going. One of the employees there took me around, helped me pick out some pants, pods, just kind of all the necessities. And when he showed me the gloves, he showed me the Exalt Death Grip gloves, which I am still a huge fan of. I remember him telling me that they looked ag. And he then, probably from the confused look on my face, felt like he needed to explain to me that it just meant aggressive. I later went home looking on the BST groups to find some of the other stuff that I needed used. I very quickly realized that that word means a lot to a lot of people, and that how you look off the field, and that things like your tank matching your loader, matching your gun, matching your jersey, matching your cleats is just as important, if not maybe more important, than what you can actually do on the field. So naturally, with how customizable the Proflex is, it's no wonder that it's so appealing for people who prioritize things like how they look over how they play. I remember one time coming to my local field for pump day, and there was a player who had 4 different pump guns, all custom anodized, and he had a matching Proflex for each of his guns, and even had matching spires for each of them as well. I mean, he played great, but still though, like, just adding up in my head, like, how much he must have spent on all those flex parts, and on top of the cost of Bob Long MVP pumps and the custom anode jobs for all of them. I mean, this guy dropped serious money just in how he looks on the field. But pushing glamour aside, there's got to be something more to it than just color options. I mean, there's plenty of masks out there that come in all kinds of crazy colors. For example, the Push Unites, I feel like probably have the biggest lineup of colors outside of the Proflex. They have all kinds of different camo prints. You have the infamous limited edition infamous ones, the Hormesis. I don't care if I pronounce that right or not. For a lot of these guys, obviously, they've been in this sport for a long time, and this is the only mask that they've ever worn. There's been so many different models of masks that have come and gone since the late 90s, and the JT Proflex has been one of the few that have actually survived that long. I know that there's a lot of different reasons why people love them. I know personally myself, when I was new, it was recommended to me because the skirt, you could get bounces off of it. I know I've been reading around online in preparation for this video. A lot of people loved it because of the way you could fold the lip up. It basically gave them the feel and breathability of all those early 90s and late 80s masks where, you know, guys were literally just wearing like lab safety goggles, running through the woods, smoking like cigarettes hanging out of their mouth, just playing paintball. But for all these younger generations and younger kids that are just now starting to get into the sport, I feel like it's something completely different. In just a few weeks now, I'm going to be turning 30 years old. And every day I wake up and I notice 2 things. One, that the bald spot on my head is growing faster than my waistline did during the initial COVID lockdown. And 2, that my childhood, my youth, my nostalgia is being packaged up and resold to a younger generation as nostalgic, cool, and vintage. Even outside of the paintball world, anything that can be considered vintage has never not been cool. It's just as time goes along, the definition of what we consider vintage is always changing, being updated, and having stuff added to it. And with the Proflex, when it comes to vintage paintball gear, there's not a lot of things from the late 90s that have stuck around today, but the Proflex has. Even with all these other new companies and existing companies coming out with new products, I mean, there have been so many masks that have been released since 1997 when the Flex 7 was, that have so many new innovations, different sizes and shapes of lenses, different materials that the masks are made out of, newer, cooler, more modern designs. And even with all of this brand new stuff, people still go back to this old mask that I'm sorry, let's face it, it doesn't even look that cool. And I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for it, but I don't even care. Like, I own many Proflexes. Like, I'm a part of this problem as well. But let's be honest with ourselves. If we took a picture of a Proflex and a new, more modern mask like the HK Army KLR, and showed them both to any non-paintball person and asked them, which one do you think is cooler and which one would you want to go out and play with? They're never going to choose the Proflex. Like, any new mask, like the KLRs, the Bunker King CMDs, Virtue Vios, honestly, anything else on the market would get picked over the Proflex for anyone who didn't know what it was, what its history was, and what its benefits are for playing on field. Another one of the ways that the Proflex shows its age is the way that it is built, honestly. So many companies have addressed so many problems that people have with older masks like the Proflex. For example, the Bunker King CMD or even my V-Force Profilers. The lenses are so easy to change. And if you've never had to change the lens on a brand new GI manufactured Proflex frame, it's actually miserable and it's going to tear up your fingers doing it. Not only are the lenses hell, but the actual foam inside to change it out. There's always one, if you're going to try and get some on any of the BST groups, you're just going to probably get made fun of because some guy's going to tell you, like, I have some OG stuff. It costs $75 when you could just go out and buy a brand new all black Proflex for about the same amount. But not only that, you're probably going to have to replace the foam someday soon if you bought a brand new one from GI. The quality control at GI is honestly not the greatest. And if you have a new Proflex, chances are it's probably already halfway peeled off in the box because all the new ones have a shoddy glue job on them anyways. So then you have to go to some JT BST group and read through some pinned thread on how to glue it in right, because if you don't, it's just going to peel right off for you in the middle of a match. Other companies have addressed issues like this by making quick change lenses, quick change foam where you can just snap everything in and snap it out. No tools are required to address anything on your mask. It's easy to tear apart, clean, and everything. Honestly, most of my Proflexes, the lenses all probably have like months and months of paint just caked up inside of them, just because it's such a pain to take the lens out that I would rather them be filthy dirty than actually deal with having to pull everything out, take a Q-tip and go through all those little grooves and try and get it all out of there. Even the brand itself doesn't really exude anything that cool. I mean, it's just two letters that don't really stand for anything. All of their logos and imagery is kind of recycled from their old motocross days back in the 80s. And we have an entire sport filled with all these brands that try to stand out with names like Bunker Kings, Hostile Kids, HK Army, even the clothing and jersey manufacturers. I mean, we've got Anthrax, we've got Ruthless. Like, everything is about the aggressive, forward, just nature of the sport, and yet everyone just wants just JT on everything that they wear. I don't even want to like spend any time in this video really going over like other JT masks like the Proteus. I hate this mask. I have never played in a mask that I hate more than this one right here. But as a media guy, wearing this mask has gotten me so much attention and started so many conversations with people that then became clients of mine that I have to continue wearing it because it just keeps working for me. But I despise this mask and I think it's just absolutely horrible. I don't care if you say you can hear better in it. I can't. So the first mask that I ever owned ended up being the GI manufactured JT Pro Shields. I was able to get it brand new at a little tiny shop that was selling it for only $40. And honestly, the only reason I got it was because I saw online a video saying that it breathes really well and the lens won't fog up, which honestly was pretty much the only two things I was looking for. I remember just typing in just like paintball mask into Amazon, and it's like you get this huge list of just all these different masks, and they look different and they have all these prices that are all over the place. So I figured if I could get away with less than $50 for a mask that just worked, then later on I could upgrade to something else that I liked more once I kind of learned and got to try on other people's masks and figure out what I really liked. But I actually ended up sticking with it because back then I was able to get any colored parts that I wanted for reasonable prices, and I could actually get different parts that matched the team jersey that I started playing for, and I was honestly really excited about it. It does breathe great. It is comfortable, but now it almost doesn't even feel worth sticking around. I think that things started to really get bad once people started to take notice that these old, rare, hard to find parts were starting to sell for higher prices on the BSTs, which I completely understand. Like, these things are hard to find, especially in mint condition. There's not a lot of guys who didn't play with this stuff. I mean, we literally all buy our gear to play in it. I mean, for the most part, I'm sure there's a lot of you and a lot of you on my team that like to buy guns, shoot them in your backyard, and then sell them on BST the next day and play with a different gun every single week. But just like any popular secondary market, a bunch of guys who drive stock Subaru BRZs or an old Beamer to the field every week started buying up all these parts just because they're cool and rare and unique, and they have something that they can say, I spent a lot of money on this and I want you to notice me, without having to say it at all. And it's not just the main parts of the mask, like the frames and the bottoms. Even the straps have a crazy third-party market. So many companies like Under, 724, and honestly, pretty much any company that makes custom paintball gear makes the universal straps that fit the Proflex. Like, we're seeing straps that sell out in minutes after they've been released, limited to maybe 30 or so units, and then this crazy secondary market where people are paying 10 times what they were originally listed for. Just because they have them and they get to decide how the market sits. And to be honest, at this point, I'm surprised that HK Army hasn't tried making either their own customizable mask platform like the Proflex, or made parts that are compatible with existing Proflex parts. But it's honestly probably a good thing that they haven't, because everything would either come in that weird bright red that doesn't match any of your red gear, that really weird bright blue that doesn't match any of your blue gear, awkward charcoal, and then that obnoxious purple and teal mix that they literally put on every single piece of gear that they make. And you always have that one kid at your field who has every single part of it, and he just thinks he's the coolest guy there because of it.
You should smack talk other people.
Babe, I will smack talk HK Army every second I can. But all in all, I think the most annoying thing that I've seen come out of all this pandemonium surrounding anything JT is the crazy inflation on all the new stuff that is coming out. Originally, the Proflex was a mask that you would recommend to anybody starting off in the sport, saying that you can still get all the performance, breathability, hearability, and a lens that won't fog off for about $80. And in a lot of cases, that's half the price of masks that offer pretty much the same performance. I mean, the Dye i4s and i5s, while they are great masks, I personally don't wear them because I just can't justify a $250 price tag when I can get the same comfort and performance out of a mask that costs less than half as much. But now new kids entering the sport are looking at any new Proflex that gets released, and we're seeing prices of $120, $130 for no other reason than just the fact that these retailers know that they will sell out quick, and people will still pay for them. I think it's honestly depressing to see JT not even say anything about it. I mean, no other masks in the industry have had any kind of crazy price increase. All this tells us is that it has nothing to do with the materials that they use to manufacture them, where they're being manufactured, by who, none of that. Only that we are willing to pay higher prices for brand new masks, that we're willing to take a chance and just pay any inflated cost that these retailers give us, just because we know that we can probably turn around and get a couple extra bucks on the gray market, or just because we want it ourselves and we're okay with taking a mask that only a couple years ago you could get any new one for about 80, 90 bucks and paying $120, $30, $40. Back in 2020, we saw JT's umbrella company GI Sports declare bankruptcy and just reform as a different company to buy itself back like every other company likes to do. But it kind of left a lot of questions up in the air. Are they going to even still exist? Are they going to completely rebrand and get rid of the JT branding? Are they going to make any more Proflexes? Are we going to get any new Proflexes? Are we going to see any improvements on the complaints that we've been seeing that aren't just the Proflex X? Like, I get it. It's a huge pain changing out those lenses, but I'm not wearing a Proflex X. Even though we're only a few months into 2022, we're already starting to see a lot of cool things happen. I mean, at the end of last year, we found out that both San Diego teams, Dynasty and Aftermath, have JT as their main sponsor. And I know that tons of people are so excited to see JT sponsoring Dynasty again. And there's going to be a lot of cool stuff coming out of that. Some of my favorite new designs for the Proflexes, the cookie camos that came out a couple days ago look awesome. I'd love to have a pair of those. Brimstone Smokes collab looks amazing. I think it's sick that we get to have a brand new red frame. One of my personal teams jerseys are red, so I think having a new cool red frames for that would be awesome. And as an avid liker of Jordan 3s, I know it's kind of a cliche hype beast thing, but the Mastodons I think are just sick, and I probably need to pick up a pair, and I missed out on the initial drop for them, but I'm sure someone will be more than happy to sell them to me for double what they paid. So with JT's major comeback already underway and the starved market finally starting to get what they've been begging for so long, are we just gonna see a bunch of guys reminiscing about the old days with their old gear and how good we could have had it, while a younger generation stands by and thinks about what they wish they would have had in today's market? Is this going to be the year that we start to see JT 10s popping up, entire walls full of Proflex parts in every pro shop across America? Are we going to see re-releases of old colorways? Are we going to see new releases of clears and all these old parts that are so coveted by so many different people? Or are they just going to make some cool stuff now and just kind of forget about us for the rest of the season? I don't know. But yeah, I would love to hear from you guys. Let me know what's one of your new favorite colorways or collabs. Let me know what your favorite piece of your collection is, maybe which part you paid the most for, or what the most overpriced part in your collection is. I'd really love to see what kind of cool stuff you guys have going on down there. If you disagree with me on anything, let me know. I'll probably read it, but whatever. But yeah, until I see you guys again, stay hydrated, drink lots of water, leave your ego in the pits, and let's just get out there and play some paintball. Thanks for watching.